Alright, now, couple updates. Shinepost and Futo P have ended, so we're gonna count those within the regular random bits now. And also, it looks like Digimon Ghost Game is not ending this season. I have no clue when it's ending, so we're just gonna move it down here until whenever it finishes. So in any case, we got 16 random shows and then 3 end caps left. So let's head on over to the randomizer and see what we get. It's going to be 15. And would you look at that? It is Shinepost. I think this is an idol one by the Uma Musume director, so let's give it a shot. There's a small but ever-growing category of anime that I just don't understand why I don't like it. It's very rare for me to not be able to articulate in any distinct manner at this point why I don't like a show. But I think Shinepost is one of those anime. I got about an episode and a half in, and my only tangible complaint is that it's just generic, I guess. There's nothing particularly wrong with the writing. It could use a little more, like, specificity and weirdness, I guess. And I'm also, like, I went into this with the mindset of this being a Kei Oikawa show. This is the guy who did Uma Musume. So I guess maybe that set up my expectations a little weird, because this is definitely not an Uma Musume type of show, even though they both share idol stuff in common. This is very much just a straight idol anime, which I guess might be the issue. I guess I'm like talking through my issue with the show as I sputter into the camera, so I guess I'm slowly figuring out why I don't like it. Because especially like on a technical front, this show's fucking great. Like, really impressive character designs, hyper detailed, really great character acting, really great dance sequences. The songs could use a little more spice to them. But there's nothing particularly wrong with them. I just don't feel anything for this story. I do like the one, I guess, seemingly unique thing about this anime where the manager can see the shine in people, I guess. And it's like, and at first you're like, oh, okay, he can see talent and like he can see the physical manifestation of talent in people. But then at the end of the first episode, it's like a twist, I guess, where the shine means that people are lying to themselves, which, like, cool twist, but like visually speaking, that's kind of a weird symbolism. It's not a bad idea, and I'm sure it will be explored in plenty of detail, because it's like, of the 3 girls from the main idol group that we're following, only the center is not shining, which means she's the only one who is like super confident in herself and is not like lying to herself about why she wants to do this and all that stuff. The motivations, I guess, are pretty stock standard for idol characters. I guess all I can say about this one is it's just kind of generic in terms of the story. There's nothing in the meat of it that makes me want to continue watching. Like, there's this rule that I should be enforcing way more often than I do, where if I'm like pausing every 5 minutes to check my phone, I should probably just turn the anime off and watch something else. And I've been checking my phone quite a lot in these episode and a half. Which again is disappointing, because this is a very, very solid production. Although I know some episodes did get delayed later. I don't remember if it was production issues were the reasons why it got delayed, but the show eventually finished, which is kind of weird because normally once you lose those assigned time slots, you don't normally get them back. So, weird how that played out, but yeah, if you just want a really high quality looking idol show, try out Shinepost. I just can't particularly say anything good about the narrative elements of it because just none of it's grabbing me. Alright, Shinepost coming off the list. Let's see what show we get next. It is 11. Summertime Render. Okay, this is unfortunately a Disney Plus show, which means I'm heading to the high seas for this one, but I've heard a ton of good stuff about this. Let's give it a go. Alright, so been a hot minute since the last recording. Almost 3 months by my count, because of 12 days of anime. But I'm finally back. I got through about 6 episodes, I think, of Summertime Render. 5 or 6, I lost count. And I don't hate this one, but it is very much not my speed. I am not super into mysteries or thrillers or anything like that. That is very much not my genre, and I think Steins Gate is the only exception. Which is weird because this show has some parallels to Steins Gate in that it has a time loop in it. This show's fine. I don't dislike it, but again, there's really nothing there that's super pulling me in, because the thing with mystery thrillers is once you figure everything out, I mean, that's what you're left with. So, there's not a lot of rewatch value in it unless you really like the characters. So at the end of it all, when you get to the end of one of these mysteries, you're just like, well, what did I watch this for? Was it just for the cool mystery stuff? I'm not saying that's not worth watching a show for, but that's not something I'm particularly interested in. It's not something I find all that fascinating, digging into different clues and trying to figure out what the big mystery is. I don't find that inherently interesting, unless there are some really good characters surrounding that. And again, I don't dislike these characters. I think they're fine, but I also don't find them particularly compelling either. They're very basic and efficient, which is fine, but not amazing. But there is one thing I don't like about this show at all, is that nobody reacts to anything when crowds don't seem to react to stuff that's very obviously weird. I first noticed it in episode 4, I think, when we first see Shin's shadow, and he's grabbing Ushio's arm, and she's just screaming at the top of her lungs, and no one else at the festival seems to notice, even though they're 20 feet away from her. And then it happens again when Shotgun Lady, whose name I can't remember, throws the lid off of Ushio's casket, and most people don't seem to notice afterwards. After that incident, she walks away, and everyone's just kind of going about their business as if nothing had happened. I would expect people to just be staring her down constantly as she was walking away, but everyone's just nope, everything's fine, totally cool. It's a totally normal thing to happen. So that's one thing I really don't like about this show. It's very immersion breaking. Which again is probably something you don't want in a mystery thriller series. But again, I don't hold that. I don't. Again, I don't particularly dislike this show overall. It's got some pretty solid animation. Definitely on the fetishy side in certain ways. But they are fetishes that I do like, so who's to say whether that's good or bad? Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot else to say besides that. I just don't particularly like. If I'm gonna go all in on a mystery series, especially a 2-core mystery series, like, and that's another thing, they move real fast in this show, which again, like in another series, like an action series, that might be fine, but in a mystery series, they're just plowing through everything, and it's just like this. They're getting through stuff that feels like it should happen like 4 or 5 episodes from now. And they're just like front loading it with this kind of heavy stuff. Which isn't inherently wrong, but it's just like, if you're throwing this at me now, I don't have the confidence that you're going to be able to top this later. Like, this seems like endgame stuff that you're throwing at me right out of the gate. So what's, and I already don't like, not don't like, but I'm already like very iffy on the characters. So like, oh well, I've run out of things to say. Let's move on.
All right, I'm gonna take summertime rendering off the list. So now we're down to 13 shows, I guess. So let's throw that into the randomizer. See what we got. 9. Yeah, 13 plus those 3 at the end right here. So 9 is Luminous Witches. Which is... I'm not sure if this is a Strike Witches spinoff or not, but we're about to find out.
Well, I'll say this. I got through more episodes of this than I did through the original Strike Witches. So that's a feat, I guess. I got almost through 2 episodes of Luminous Witches. I'm not going to try and remember the full title of this one because it's insane. I like the moe. It is, watching this right after Summertime Rendering, which is like this very serious, like, thriller show. Not that it isn't moe in any way. It does have its own very anime-esque things, but it's like going from that to a Strike Witches spinoff. The tonal whiplash is just so fun. And I think even though I didn't make it as far in this one, I think I was enjoying the ride a lot more in this. It's fun. I'll give it that. It is, on some level, this is a fun show to watch, but most of the characters are kind of annoying. So the fun couldn't really carry me through that, unfortunately. I do not like the personalities of most of these characters, which is a shame because I think there is some potential here for some interesting storytelling regarding misplaced talent and like finding your own place within a larger structure, i.e. a military. Not putting all of your eggs into one basket, into one particular talent, and recognizing that humans are very multifaceted beings. I think there's some potential there. Not in this show, though. It not only are most of the characters kind of annoying, but also it really isn't doing a lot. Like, the scenarios that they come up with really feel like fluff, that it's just stretching out the time a lot of the time. Very much a lot more so in the second episode than the first. What got me to drop this, though, was because this is also an idol show, apparently, or at least it's going to be. But the singing segment near the end of episode 2, the lip flaps were so out of sync from the music that I was like, all right, you're not even trying at this point. What the fuck? It was not good. And also, for some reason, the main song that they decided to go with, that they played in both the first and second episodes, the melody is just Amazing Grace? I don't know. Now, I know this is a very old melody, so it might come from somewhere else too, or it was readapted into another song at some point. I don't quite know the history of this melody, but as someone raised Catholic in the US, that song is just Amazing Grace. So, that was very weird. So, not going to continue with Luminous Witches, but by golly, they gave it the good old college try. Sort of.
Alright. Luminous Witches off the list. Got 12 more to go before we circle back to the end of this list here. So let's see what we get. Or I guess I should say we have 2 more to go. Whatever. 4. The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting. This is probably going to be a weird one, so let's give it a go.
Alright, I just finished all of the Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting, and this show is exactly why I do this series, because there's absolutely no way I would have watched this show if I didn't try out every single new show, and I had a pretty decent time with it. Not super blown away by it, it's still pretty solidly in the mid-tier of kind of shows, but again, I finished it, and I had a good time with it. So, I think this one definitely falls into the Dautaru, please make a Japanese family, so says Shinzo Abe propaganda type show. Which is not one that I'm theoretically against. I mean, I like the genre, honestly. It works. That's the best I could say about it, is these shows do work. They do make you want to have a family. Whether I do that or not is up to me, but anyway, these, little Yakuza thug ends up taking care of the boss's daughter, and they are very cute together. That's pretty much the main appeal of the show, is the interactions between these two and how they grow and cause each other to grow, and the relationship that they build with each other is really cute and wholesome and all that jazz. Aside from that, there's not a lot to it. Like, I think they definitely could have done a lot more with building up some of the side characters. Like, there's this middle schooler that shows up at one point, whose only gag is that she's kind of dumb and eats a lot. And I think they definitely could have expounded on her a bit more. And there's some other ones that they could have done with a little bit more with too. But actually, there are a few characters that they did utilize a lot, though not often to the best success. Like, there is a character, Ray, who is very obviously gay, and gets a little bit iffy on the portrayal of this character, mostly in how people react to this character. The character himself, there's nothing wrong with. It's just the way that this character is treated in the show that feels a little off. Again, I don't know how Yakuza feel about the LGBT community, but that's in the show, so I'll leave that up to you to judge. I do think there is an inherent flaw in the premise for this show, though, in that the premise for the show is that the boss forces this guy to take care of his daughter so that he will mellow out, because this guy is sort of known as like the Yakuza crusher. Like, he's this big, fly off the handle kind of dude who will just destroy everything in his path, and the boss wants him to calm down. And the flaw arrives in the fact that he seems to have no trouble with this whatsoever. Like, he just immediately calms down as soon as he starts taking care of Yayaka, who's the boss's daughter. And it's not until he has a relapse in the last couple episodes that ever comes up again. Like, he's never... Like, it's a little bit in the first episode, and then it's just smooth sailing until the last arc of the series. So I think it could have done a little bit more with the make him less of a thug, or have him grow into being less of a thug character. I could definitely see that making the show a little bit more abrasive, so I guess that would have also been a bit of a risk, but it still makes the character a little less memorable in the end. Although the character is pretty cool. Kirishima is this pretty cool Yakuza dude. Yeah. Still had fun with it overall. And I was also very thankful that they cut the, oh, I'm a danger to everyone around me, so I have to leave trope. They cut that down to about half an episode. I was afraid, because they put it in like the penultimate episode, they put it in episode 11, so I was afraid that was going to last all through episode 11 and episode 12, and that would have been unbearable. But yeah, otherwise, decent watch. It was funny, it was wholesome. Not the best looking show overall, though it does occasionally have like its few moments where it really sparkles, especially in the last couple episodes. And there's also, it's a surprisingly emotional series. There's like a lot of very complicated emotions at play here. Especially surrounding Yayaka's mother, who is basically in a coma for the entire series, and everyone in the series has to grapple with their emotions regarding that. Yayaka in particular. And so I think this is a very fun and surprisingly interesting series. Would recommend. Like, even if this doesn't seem like your jam. Like, I did not expect this to be my thing, and yet here I am. So, yeah, good show. Let's see where it goes on the list.
Alright. Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting is complete. And we're going to put it right here. Still just barely clenches the top 40, and that gets a decent 6. Nothing super special, but I had a fun old time with it. So now, let's see, we got 11 randos left, plus the 3 at the end. So let's see. Nope. Let's see what the number generator gives us. 2. Vermeil In Gold. I've heard surprisingly decent things about this one, so let's give it a shot.
Alright, so I made it about 9.5 minutes through the first episode of this one. It's really annoying. This is another ecchi magic series. And just about every trope that this show is built on, I fucking hate. This little weak-willed nothing of a protagonist. The fact that it's already got several girls fawning over him before we even know anything about this dude, other than the fact that he can't summon anything. Even like the really small details of it, like one of the first shots in this show is like a blackboard that's divided into multiple segments, and the segments are being like magically shifted around on the board, and I'm like, what fucking purpose does that serve? Like, there's no reason for that to exist. It makes no sense. You're just jumbling up the shit, because you can clearly see that there's stuff written across multiple panels, and so just moving around doesn't really make any sense unless it's some really weird, cryptic magic puzzle. It was just weird. And like the outfit that they put, who I assume the main girl is in, this succubus character, looks distinctly modern. It doesn't look like anything else that exists in this world so far, which is just everything about the series annoys me. And also, it's not hot. Like, it's not the character designs aren't that attractive. Like, they're not ugly, but they're not, like, blowing me away with the ecchi of it all. It's just big titty naked succubus girl. And who I assume is going to be the competing love interest, the gestures that they have her do in her one scene are just so very obviously, I'm the secondary love interest. Like, she does this thing, like, and it's just so damn annoying, and I hate it. And it also doesn't look very good. A lot of this show looks like shit. So, let's move on.
Alright, Vermeil In Gold is off the list. And so that means we got 10 left in the main list, but now it's time to jump down to these 3 at the bottom, and we got Love Live Superstar Season 2. First season was pretty fun. Let's see how the second one goes.
Well, gee, I'm having a real rough go at picking shows for the last slots in these videos because I didn't make it all the way through Superstar Season 2. I made it 8 episodes in, and I realized I was staring at my phone more than I was watching the show. So I think that's a good time to drop it. There's a lot of reasons why. I already mentioned this couple videos ago at some point, but I am apparently an outlier in the Love Live fandom in that I vastly prefer Nijigasaki over everything else I've seen so far, and it's not even close. Granted, I still have to do... I've only seen a couple episodes of School Idol Project. I haven't seen any of Sunshine. But I've seen all of Nijigasaki, and I've seen all of Superstar up through episode 8 of season 2. And from what I've seen, I just like the way that Nijigasaki approaches this way more. And apparently Nijigasaki is the outlier amongst all of the Love Live projects so far. So that does not bode well for me in terms of delving further into this franchise. But for Superstar specifically, I thought the first season was pretty okay. It was good. Honestly, my biggest problem with it was that I didn't really find any of the songs all that memorable or interesting. And I will say season 2 is a little better in that regard. I definitely like the songs a lot more, and I was keeping track of the names of them so I could download them later. Although, now that I think about it, I can't really name a specific one of them that stands out. But I do think they are definitely stronger than Season 2's or Season 1's lineup. But first, I just stopped caring at some point in this. Through a very wide combination of reasons. Mostly in that I just don't particularly care about a lot of these characters. I don't like the dynamic between Cuckoo and Sumire. I wasn't a huge fan of it in the first season, and it's just becoming more and more annoying in this season. Really don't like the YouTuber character. She's awful. And while I'm not going to say that no one does YouTube just for money, it's certainly not something that you go into only for money and then have a lot of success at most of the time. And that's kind of what this character is. It's like in her episode, it's like episode 6, they kind of dive a little bit more into her character, and she explicitly says that being like a YouTuber is not her dream. She's just doing it for the money because all of her other dreams failed, and she's just doing it until she finds her next dream, which it turns out is Love Live. But that's not how YouTubing works. YouTubing takes way too much fucking effort for it to be a thing you do until you find your next dream. That's not how this shit works at all. I have drained so much of my life into YouTube and I don't even do it as much as the people who actually make money. So, no, that's not how that works, honey. And maybe it's just some weird psychoanalytical thing with me, but for some reason, I've never met, at least as far as I can remember, I have not met an anime character that is a YouTuber that was not written fucking horribly. She's one of them. I also don't like her personality at all. She's super fucking grating. I do like the other three new characters besides her. Kinako's nice. I forgot the names of the other... Mei and Shiki. I think those were their names. Yeah. I like those two. I liked their dynamic and their episode. I think it was episode 4 was their big episode. I thought they were pretty good. So I had some high hopes for them as the series went on. But, there are definitely a lot of, like, wacky, jump the sharky kind of moments in this one, sort of. Like, episode 7 is, like, about how the student council president has a gaming addiction. And it just sucks. It's bad. I don't like... It's really cliche and not interestingly written. Doesn't really... Just kind of comes out of nowhere for this character as far as I can remember. Like, they vaguely hint at it very early in the series, or in this season, and then all of a sudden, bam, gaming addiction. And it's so bad. And aside from that, I just stopped kind of caring about them getting to Love Live, which is kind of a big deal that I don't care about that at this point. So, I don't know what else to say other than, like, aside from the specific elements I've written, it's competently written overall, but there's nothing exciting about any of it. Like, even in the moments where Nijigasaki got super over the top in the bad ways, it was still exciting. Like, there were rarely a moment in Nijigasaki where I was bored or not interested in what was happening. Superstar, I'm not interested in what's happening most of the time. It feels like a lot of fluff that's not very interesting. Which is a shame because this is probably the best looking Love Live series so far from what I've seen. Like, the character designs are really solid, rarely an off-model moment. The background art and the color design is fucking phenomenal. The things they do with the colors, with the pinks and the oranges and the yellows and the purples, is just phenomenal looking. Like, that's the one thing I can't criticize this show for, is it's fucking beautiful. It really is. Which is a shame that I'm not interested in what it's showing me at all. Yeah. I'm starting to think I might not be a Love Live fan. Because if Nijigasaki is the outlier, and the only one I like is Nijigasaki, from what I've seen so far, I might not be a Love Live fan. And maybe I'm just a Nijigasaki fan, and I need to focus on the specific people who worked on that series rather than the franchise as a whole. I'm still going to try School Idol Project and Sunshine at some point, but knowing that they are more like Superstar than Nijigasaki kind of puts a damper on my excitement. But in any case, I don't really feel a need to continue this, especially since this one, like, apparently there's a season 3 that's going to be coming out too, so it's like, do I want to finish this knowing that the story's still not finished and that there's going to be a season 3? I think I'm done. So, let's move on.
Alright. I would love to wear the hat of Love Live fan, but unfortunately Love Live has been dropped and is coming off the list. I'll stick with Nijigasaki. Thank you.